We can have our taglines of all in all the time, but what happens when we hit that weak moment and we feel overwhelmed? I want to share with you one time when I felt that way. Hell Week starts on a Sunday afternoon, early evening. They do an evolution called Breakout. They try to create chaos. We're all over the place doing this, that, or the other thing. I thought that part was actually kind of fun. Then we ran about 5 miles down the beach with the boats on our heads. And we put our boats down. Those boats are heavy. They rub a hole in your head. We ran 5 miles back to where we came from, picked up logs, ran with our logs, telephone poles back down the beach, put those down. Your uniform, you're wet in hypothermic conditions, sandy, salt water, and it turns your uniform into what feels like sandpaper and creates a bunch of rash. And your groin, your armpits, everything gets really raw, hurts, bleeding. Then we start doing surf passage where we row our boats through the big West Coast surf zone. The waves pick you up, flip you over, all sorts of stuff. Then we did rock portage where we land those boats on big boulders and have to carry them from one side to the other on these slippery, jagged rocks. It's dangerous. It's one of the only evolutions in buds where I was scared because they didn't have a whole lot of control over it. Guys could snap ankles and legs pretty easily doing it. Then I realized it was dawn. The sun was coming up. And we come up on the beach. And they have us link arms. We're going to do surf torture. Surf torture, they lay us in the water. And they've measured the temperature of the water. And they know how long they can keep the average human being in the water according to that temperature until they start to go into hypothermia. And we're laying in the water over. And we've done it before. But the water just seemed colder, everything seemed more intense, and we seemed to be in it for longer with more iterations. I've never been this exhausted ever in my life, this beat up in my life, and we're only halfway through the first day. It's Sunday, right? And we got to get to Friday without sleeping. I guess it's Monday morning at this point. And over and over again, the surf torture. We come up on the beach and I'm absolutely frozen. I look down the line for my buddies and they're not there. And I just think like they must be somewhere else, you know? They must have split the class up because there's so many people missing. And then I realized they had quit. And in my confusion, because I was lightheaded and dizzy from the hypothermia, I was in hypothermia, bleeding. I looked up at the bell. They had brought the bell in the back of a truck and you couldn't quit fast enough. There was a line at the bell. And not only was the bell there in the truck, there was burritos and coffee and warm blankets. And all you had to do was go over there and take it. One of the instructors comes up to me and he says, "Hey man, it's time for you to quit." And man just said, "Negative." But inside I wanted to quit. And he said, "Yeah man, everybody in the class hates you. There's no shame in it. It's what most people do. It's time for you to quit." And I managed to say negative again, but on the inside I wanted to quit. So what do we do when we're going to make a decision that we know we shouldn't? We try to justify it. And I thought, what can I tell my mom? And a couple of people who believed in me. And the only thing that I could think of was that the guys who graduate this training they're just more badass than I am, man. I just didn't have what it takes. And I was like, dude, that's unacceptable. But I still didn't want to go, man, because it's just overwhelming. Like, it's 5 more days. And this is ridiculously hard and painful. And so here's what I did, man. I break big things into small pieces, right? I looked at the bell, and my boat crew's over here. It's the same distance. I can't just lay down here and die. I've got to go over to the bell to quit, and it's the same distance. So the question is not, can I get to Friday? Stop thinking 6 days down the road and focus on the 6 inches in front of your face. Not, can I get to Friday? That's not the right question. The right question is, do you have more? Right? And that's what I asked myself. If I can get that far to quit, then I can get that same distance to my boat crew. So just get yourself there and then die. I still didn't want to go, so I told myself, take one step. One step. And I did. I just forced it, one step in the right direction. And then another and another. I get to my boat. My boat crew's there. I get encouraged by my teammates' presence. Put that boat on my head. We start running down the beach. They say we run about 200 miles in Hell Week. That's 300,000 steps on average. That one single step seems so insignificant within that amount of 300,000, but it was absolutely vital because it led to the rest. The decision that's made in a weak moment. Remember, nothing lasts forever. The moment will pass, and you want to be able to look back and be proud of who you were and what you did. There's nothing wrong if I had gone over there and quit. That's what most people were doing. I've got a ton of respect for every man who even gets to Hell Week and starts it. People have no idea what it takes just to get to that point. But if I had quit and tried to explain, nobody's going to, right? Every adversity that I had been through, everyone who had tried to limit me, mocked me, whatever it may be, started to bottle up there in a moment of defiance to just take that one step. And you see, because those past failures and adversities didn't define me, they made me a man capable of making a correct decision in a very difficult situation. Now, you don't have a literal Navy SEAL Hell Week to overcome, but everybody has a version of Hell Week in their game and in their lives, man. And that's how you do it. Break big things into small pieces. A season is a series of games, which is a series of innings, which is a series of outs, which is a series of pitches. Win one pitch at a time. And if you make a mistake, get right back on the wagon. No matter how overwhelming it may seem, just do the next right thing. It may be the one thing that sparks a chain of events that leads your life into a path you never thought possible for yourself. And as I accomplished that and I was running down that beach, it all came together. And I recognized why the things in my life had happened. You know, all I ever wanted to do was pitch for the Atlanta Braves. All through the 90s, I was 10 to 20 years old. Loved that team, man. All I ever wanted to do. And I didn't get to. But you know what? I love the SEAL teams more than baseball. I loved being a Navy SEAL. It's a close second. I love them both. That was where I needed to be. I just didn't know it yet. But to get there, I needed an implosion to learn about myself. And now I get to be here with you guys because I took that step, that single step.